Welcome back in, race fans, to another episode of Winning Bets. I'm your host, Jason Madison, joined alongside me by William Blackwell. This is our weekly NASCAR show where we look back at the previous race that just happened, and we also submit our picks for a chance to win $25,000 over on the Jackpot Races app, $10,000 over on the NBC Sports Predictor app, and you can win another $1,000 over on the Fox Bet Super 6 app. How's it going there, William, this week? I'm excited to talk about this race. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. It's great to be on here and talking about this upcoming Sunday's race at Michigan, the FireKeepers Casino 400 at Michigan. I'm expecting some great racing, a lot of side-by-side action, and the playoffs are just 2 weeks away, and it's getting really tight by that bubble. Kevin Harvick, Tyler Reddick are above it. Denny Hamlin this past weekend locked himself in, but below it you get Austin Dillon, Chastain, DiBenedetto, Wallace, and Briscoe. Things are going to get interesting. We will see a new winner, but who will that new winner be is the question.
Yeah, cool, nice tease right there. Professional tease. That's what we call professional tease in the business, like that right there. Before we jump all into Michigan, let's always make sure we look back at the previous race. Was at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the Verizon 200, where the winner was AJ Allmendinger. I'm gonna let you go first, but before you talk about the race, I sit here and I watch the race. I've got the TV right up there above my head, and I watch it here in the office here. I'm always writing down my notes on how to do it. To me, my notes, if you read it, it's like one race and then the big oh shit moment happened, and then my notes completely changed. So let's leave the oh shit moment and everything after to the side for a second, and give me any of your pre oh shit moment notes that you want to talk about on this race. And I've got a couple as well, but you can go ahead and take the floor first.
All right, here. I'm going to catch a lot of heat for this. But at first, before that big incident happened where all the melee took place on that backstretch, I thought it was a typical road course, nothing too special. But we saw Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, the typical two runners up front dominating. But the first 15 laps of just full on starting position. That's why you saw Byron up front, and then Chase Briscoe leading 11 laps. That's my driver, but he wasn't really up there for most of the race. He fell back to bad strategy, in my opinion. But like it was a typical road race, so it was kind of boring, in my opinion. And I'm not too satisfied with this road course, and I think NASCAR isn't too pleased with it either because it costs a lot of teams a lot of money. So I'm I have a hard time believing they will return to the road course next year. I think the oval will be the safe bet, but it's just too far away to predict.
Okay. Yeah, good. So I certainly agree with you there on maybe the future at Indianapolis in terms of going back to the oval as opposed to the road course. Or I think you touched on it last week. Just give them two. Just give them two races. They certainly deserve two up there at the IMS. The one, a couple things I want to talk about here before we get on into that big moment is some of the strategies that a couple teams deployed. The first one being with Tyler Reddick. Obviously, you mentioned him being one of those drivers on the bubble. Excellent strategy by his team by getting on a different pit cycle than the other drivers, staying out there, getting the points for stage one and getting the points for stage two. So tip of the cap to his team. Thought they executed that strategy, to a T. On the flip side, Kozlowski, I don't know what the hell he's doing anymore. I don't know if he's trying. Terrible strategy, staying out. I mean, I get it, he stayed out, but then he took it too far, in my opinion. Don't take it that far where you then have absolutely no grip on your tire and you come into the turn and you lose control and now you hit the wall. So it wasn't the worst strategy, but then when he let it play out too long, that to me deemed it terrible strategy. And somebody else who I thought maybe had good strategy to get back on that theme, I thought Denny Hamlin had a good strategy. A guy that needed to get a win. He stayed out at the beginning of stage three, just hoping and praying for there to be a caution. And I thought, even though it didn't happen, you could see what that team was doing in the 11 car, just hoping for a strategy. It didn't work out, but excellent strategy right there. I had it down in my notes that Kyle Larson won the race at the end of stage two when he made that pass by Elliott. Obviously, we'll get to it. He obviously wasn't the race winner, but leading up to a point, it looked like that's when the moment he won the race was just before the end of stage two, and he's able to make that pass by Elliott. Anything else you want to say, or just get on into the big moment?
You're talking about strategy. One person I also think about strategy, or two people actually. Kyle Busch at the start of the race, he had a terrible starting position, got up front pretty quick, and then at the end, before that big crash happened, Chase Briscoe, my driver, I was pretty down. I'm not gonna lie to you. He was running 32nd, last car in the lead lap with fresh tires though. Caution comes out, his chance to win improves, and he also has some luck fall into his hands in later stages of this race Sunday.
Yeah, he got extremely lucky. I mean, after flat spotting his tires on two different occasions and really hurting his chances, I thought it was
Twice.
over. And I was gutted for you, man. I know we were going back and forth on Twitter a little bit, riding his excitement there. But then when he flat spotted twice, I was like, well, it's over. And then he got a gift, obviously, late in the race. So let's just jump on into it now and get on into that big moment. Obviously, with 10 laps to go, Kyle Larson is absolutely dominating the field, looking like he was going to take another checkered flag. And then they threw a caution, little bit of debris there. I thought on the camera it looked like it had kind of blown off the track, but not going to argue at the end of the day. I mean, there was debris, so go ahead and throw that caution right there. Hamlin stayed out, Dibenditto stayed out, some other drivers at that time, which again I thought was some more good strategy. And then the big one happened with 5 to go. With 5 to go, their curbing came up. I thought it could have been avoided though, because one lap prior, Martin Truex Jr. went through there, and watching it real time, so much debris scattered up. I was like just waiting for my upper left hand TV, for them to throw the yellow there on NBC. It never came. I mean, how did that caution never? I mean, watching it live, so much debris came when Truex went through there. How do they not throw the caution there and even avoid the big issue there with the curbing and everything? How does that happen?
I honestly think this is sorry in NASCAR's part. They should have threw the caution for one because it's debris, and it was actually in the racing groove, not like the other times NASCAR wants to call it. So shame on NASCAR there. But they also caused a big wreck to go on the following lap, which could have totally not happened if they were to throw the caution lap before. I just don't agree with them there, and it was a terrible call. And NASCAR this year has made tons of them. Bristol, for an example, Coda, running in the middle of a tropical storm, pretty much, and then so much bad luck throughout this year, New Hampshire. But yeah,
Yeah.
NASCAR has not been good at making great calls.
Right. So then obviously they got a red flag the race. I said you were probably watching it, or I know you were, not probably. You were watching it. I liked how the track president was out doing the sweep during that red flag. The track president has got a broom in his hand doing some sweeping. So just thought that was a little funny. The track president's out there doing it. So anyway, so they red flag it. Now they bring the cars back. And then you get into your second kind of controversy in that race. We got the whole Briscoe incident. It's your guy. I'll let you walk your way through it and just kind of piggyback on where you. But it's your guy, so by all means, take lead on what happened to your guy.
All right, on that final restart, Chase Briscoe was in third place behind Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin, I think it was. But Larson didn't really get going, and Briscoe just stormed up front. And the next thing you know, him and Hamlin are side by side. And then Allmendinger comes into the picture, makes it three wide, and Briscoe is the odd man out and gets forced into the grass by Denny Hamlin. And going back and looking at it, there's really not much he could have done. Maybe turn right a little bit sooner than he was in the grass, so he came out, I don't know, maybe around third or fourth. But he just kept on going straight in the grass. NASCAR had to throw the penalty. Rules are rules. But I thought when it's on the backstretch, Briscoe wasn't told properly by his team. And when he wrecked the 11, it was going for the win. It was on purpose. I don't care what people say. Briscoe knew it was on purpose. He was going for his first career win at his home track. But for them to park Briscoe, though, at the end, I thought that was a little dirty. But I could totally agree with them on the cutting the corner part on that restart. He could have came right a little sooner. It's a hard pill to swallow, but rules are rules.
Yeah, I guess I fall in all of that with what Hamlin did and listen to his post interview. He should have, even if he wasn't told there was a penalty, which that's what Briscoe's going to stick to. Somehow Hamlin knows it, but Briscoe doesn't. Not going to get into a little bit of that. He said, she said, but he has to know a penalty is coming, and that's kind of where I agree with Hamlin. And maybe it's just because Hamlin's more of a veteran, he's seen more of these incidents. But Briscoe should have known a penalty was coming and should have backed off Hamlin right there. I get it. I get what he's doing. He's on the bubble trying to get that win, but a penalty's coming. He knows a penalty's coming. You can't just spin Hamlin like that. So Hamlin is pissed, but come to find out, I found out a couple hours after, he actually clinched the spot to the playoffs. He's got enough points, so he's actually clinched the spot. So while he is super pissed and while he thought he needed that win, come to find out he doesn't actually need that win as he is a playoff driver. So I think that it makes it a little bit easier for him to swallow him getting spun out. But, I mean, he wants the victory. He was right there at the couple laps to go. So, but, yeah, Briscoe should have known what was coming. I get it. Yeah, but it's tough. I mean, it's tough overall, though. Tough situation.
Yeah, Hamlin, he did at that post race interview. He blew my mind. I thought he was going to go on there and bash Briscoe and get in a physical altercation. No, he handled it like a true professional, and I really admire that. Even though it was against my favorite driver, Chase Briscoe, I respect Hamlin on what he did. He proved it. He's a professional. But also, talking about Hamlin locking himself into the playoffs, he pretty much lost a lot of ground on Kyle Larson this past week. And when it comes to the regular season championship, remember, if you win that, that is 15 points for the playoffs. And Denny Hamlin needs that because 15 points is equivalent to 3 wins. Right now, he's at 0, and Larson's at 5, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But he has a ton of ground to make up. So, yeah, that's interesting. But also, when you're talking about the little thing going on the radio between Briscoe and his crew about the penalty, I got a strong opinion about that. A couple years ago, in case many viewers don't know, I'm a diehard Clint Boyer fan, jumped on the Briscoe bandwagon after he retired. But back in 2013, he was racing in the playoffs, like locked in already. He was at Richmond. His teammate was Truex, and his team went on the second team radio because there are 2 radios. One is between driver, spotter, and crew chief, and then 2 is between spotter and crew chief, and it's a private deal. And they were telling each other that Boyer needs to spin out on purpose to help Martin get into the playoffs. It happened. Martin got in. NASCAR looked at it, took out Truex, put Gordon in. So putting that into this past weekend, I just think there's no need for a second channel. I think it should all be going between them 3, not 2, 3, and NASCAR needs to look into that.
Okay, cool. Good stuff right there. I touch on your regular season champion. I may be shocked at this point if it's not Kyle Larson. I hear you there. Needs points, but boy, just the best driver, just consistent. We'll be shocked. All right, anything else? Or we turn the page here to the FireKeepers 400. Let's do it right there. Get in a head nod. Let's go on to the Fire.
But with Allmendinger winning, I've been wanting to say this from the start. When him winning the race, it really didn't feel like he earned it. It did not feel like the full brickyard, like casual race weekend, like nothing big deal. It was like the playoffs nowadays, in my opinion. It's like when you win the championship, did you really earn it or did you get lucky?
Yeah. Well, I think just based on that craziness there with obviously, the late game, the late race, everybody's just glad that a playoff spot wasn't stolen. I mean, I think all the other drivers like, woo, somebody didn't steal a playoff spot was probably the biggest relief for a lot of those drivers there in the garage. All right, let's do it right now. Let's jump over to the Michigan International Speedway. We got the FireKeepers 400, 2-mile. Call it intermediate track if you want. I don't know, but it's still a 2-mile. You can. To me, this is like Kansas. It's kind of like a mini Kansas. If you're doing your handicapping, you obviously want to look at Michigan, but maybe take an eye at Kansas. I think it's kind of like a mini there, right there. Similar banking. One's 18 degrees, one's 15 degrees. So that's why I would take a peek there at Kansas when you're doing your handicapping. We got Kyle Busch won Kansas. Go ahead and recall that. That was May 2nd, the birthday boy. Remember that was his birthday when he came through and got that win. As for what happened to Michigan, they raced here twice last year. Harvick took the checkered flag in both of those occasions, and he was second this year at Kansas, so he could be a big-time player. Harvick's been great here overall. What I'm going to get into Harvick is when I start to maybe break him down a bit later, maybe he deploys a little strategy like Reddick and tries to get some stage wins. Maybe it will cost him an overall win, but just don't be too surprised if maybe stage 1 and stage 2 he's on a little bit of a different cycle than these other drivers. I would maybe look for that. But we're going back to the oval. I'm super excited to go back to the oval, get some racing side by side, get some good action going on right now. So with that being said, anything that you want to touch on or anything you want to say before we jump into it?
No, you nailed it. Strategy is going to be the same as it was these last couple of weeks. You will see people pitting before the end of the stage and some staying out for points, but you nailed it. Spot on.
All right, let's do it. Let's start off with the Jackpot Races. This is where you can win $25,000. They've made a change to this, and I literally got to call out Kyle here, one of the great supporters and viewers here of our show each and every week. I don't know if I would notice. You actually have to scroll. There's 6 drivers in each group, folks. If you just pull up the app and look, the layout looks the exact same. You gotta scroll. There's 6 drivers now in each group, so they make it that much harder. You still got to pick the best driver amongst 5 groups and then give them a top 3. So you go ahead and take group first one, William. You got to pick between Larson, Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Elliott, Harvick, and Truex. 6 of them. Who you got?
I'm picking Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin last year at Michigan was up and down. And then last week, I think at Indianapolis, with him getting spin out, that put some fire in the cage. He is pissed off. He's pretty much lost a lot of ground on Kyle Larson in the regular season championship. So I think this weekend he's going to go full send, going for it all, getting the win, and making up tons of ground on Kyle Larson. So give me Denny Hamlin in round one.
Like that pick of Denny Hamlin. He's kind of racing free, right? He's kind of had that pressure last few weeks of hearing you haven't won, you're on the bubble, blah, blah, blah. Now he's at least secured in the playoffs. So, like that pick in Hamlin, I was going to pick Hamlin, but I went with Kyle Larson. I mean, there's one thing when I look at these 6 drivers is there's one of these drivers I can predict will be top 5, top 3. And if you're top 5, top 3, you have a chance to win the race. So, that was just really the deciding factors. He's going to be up there in the front, folks. He led 132 laps at Kansas. And to me, I think this is a similar racetrack. And remind you, it wasn't until a very late restart where he got into Blaney there in the restart and took him and Blaney out of any contention of taking that checkered flag. Otherwise, maybe he goes ahead, and wins Kansas after leading 132 laps. So, yeah, not a no-brainer statement to say Kyle Larson will be there in the end. So, amongst that, I'll go ahead and take my chances. So, let's move it over now to Group 2, where we got to pick between Blaney, Logano, Byron, Keselowski, Bowman, and Dylan. I'll go first. I'm going to go ahead and with Joey Logano. Go ahead and take the guy right there in the 20 car. Look, he's led the second most laps here at Michigan since 2018 with 234. He's got 1 win, 2 top 5s, 5 top 10s in his last 6 races here at Michigan, 3 wins overall here at Michigan, which is tied for his most at any track, an average finish of 8 and a driver rating of 107.5. Both of those are best amongst drivers in this group. Go ahead and give me Joey Logano. What about for you?
All right, here. On this podcast, throughout the long videos we've been making, I have never predicted an Austin Dillon in a round. And I'm going with Austin Dillon for this reason. He is out of the playoffs right now. He is racing his teammate. So Tyler Reddick might be going, I don't know, for points. Austin Dillon's going to go vice versa. So he's going to have some great strategy being played. A little bit of a gamble here. But he did the same exact stuff 1 year ago at Michigan and won, I think it was 2 stages and out in the whole weekend because they did that double header. But he won 2 out of 4 stages in 1 weekend. So Austin Dillon and his team knows how to make a great strategy call, and I think they might be the team to bet on this weekend at Michigan.
Listen to him, folks. Strategy. Teams are on different strategies as you come down to the stretch here. So very wise decision there by you. All right, you're up first in Group 3. You guys pick between Reddick, Almirola, Bell, Kurt Busch, Chastain, and Di Benedetto.
All right, here. The safe bet will be Eric Almirola because, one, he is really good at these type of tracks. You got Michigan and Auto Club. They're both the same D 2-mile track. And Stewart-Haas Racing in the past, last year to be exact, was 100% accuracy. They won both races with Kevin Harvick. So I'm sure they're going to be fast. Nothing near race-winning pace by any means, but they will be the safe bet out of this round.
Eric Almirola for you. I'm going to go ahead and go with Matt Di Benedetto. In one of these 2 races last year at Michigan, he finished 7th. He was 4th earlier this season at Kansas. He needs a win to impress. We know he's obviously a free agent, doesn't have a ride for next season. And just look at the strategy he deployed last year. It was him and Hamlin, and some other drivers, but it was mainly him and Hamlin that stayed out there after that late caution. They were 10 to go as they wanted to get the checker flag. They need a win to get in the playoffs. So this is a guy that A, is motivated for a ride next season, and B, is on that playoff bubble. So he's going to deploy some interesting strategy. I'll take a guy that's going to be taking some chances, taking some risks, kind of like what you said about Austin Dillon. I think Matt Di Benedetto is in that same situation. So Matty D for me. Moving on to Group 4, we got to pick between Wallace, Buescher, Stenhouse, Suarez, Newman, and Briscoe. I'm going to go ahead and take Chris Buescher. And when I talk about Chris Buescher, I talk about Mr. Top 20. Top 20 in both races last year, top 20 in Kansas. His last 6 races in Michigan, he's got 5 of them in the top 20. You're starting to get into Group 4. So if you can get one of these guys in the top 20, you got a really good chance of winning this group. Chris Buescher's got the numbers to say he'll do it. So give me him.
I'm going to go with my man Chase Briscoe, and that's not because he's my favorite driver, not biased. But this past weekend, he led 11 laps, was up front, he got some experience. But at the end of the race, he restarted in the top 10 about 3 or 4 times because of all of them restarts going on because of all them cautions. And he got in that big incident with Denny Hamlin. And when drivers get a lot of criticism, 1, they might fold, but 2, that might piss them off deep down inside. And I think that's what's going to happen to Briscoe. He's going to come out here, do good, in my opinion. Like you said, top 20 will be good for this round. And I don't think he's going to win by any means. But I made it clear earlier, Almirola racing for Stewart Haas Racing. Haas is fast here at Michigan. Briscoe's a Haas driver, so that's a safe bet in my opinion.
All right, Briscoe for you. Now we got to get to Group 5. You got to go first. You got to pick between Jones, McDowell, Priest, LaJoy, Alfredo, and Haley. Who's going to be best amongst these guys in Group 5?
All right, here. They're all going to wreck besides, I don't know, Michael McDowell. Michael McDowell did really good this past weekend, in my opinion. He's already locked into the playoffs, but he is battling, I think, Almirola for that second to last spot in the playoffs because you get some bonus points, if I'm not mistaken. So things are getting interesting there. He did finish runner-up in Stage 1 at the Indy Road Course, so yeah, 9 valuable points. And at Michigan, I think he's going to be a little conservative and just give me McDowell. The other ones are wrecked.
All right. Well, hopefully they don't all wreck because I didn't pick McDowell. And to be clear, I don't really trust any of these guys to have any confidence in picking that. But I'm going to go ahead and go with Ryan Priest. I like the fight and JT Jordy. I just like that they are at least bringing it every week. Maybe not in terms of obviously results, but I think they bring the fight to the track. Last year at Michigan, he finished 16th and 25th. If he finishes 16th or 25th, he'll win this group. So go ahead and give me Ryan Priest. All right, we got to give him a checker flag winner, and we got to give him P2 and P3. Why don't you go ahead and go first?
All right, here. We're going to start from third place. That will be Martin Truex Jr. Second place will be the 5 car of Kyle Larson. And winning this Sunday will be no other than Denny Hamlin in the 11 car. Hamlin's pissed off from 1 week ago, and he has really nothing to lose. He's already locked in, so give me Hamlin. He's going to be really aggressive.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, cool. My top 3 is, I'm going to go ahead and say Joey Logano takes the checker flag. I mean, obviously, he's the biggest name that people remember in that wreck. They interviewed him first. He was the first one to kind of go flying, and he went into that tire safety wall there with the tires. I look for him to have a nice bounce back, that late caution. And I think it's going to take a late caution. Something's going to happen in this racetrack where maybe like a Kyle Larson will be dominating, or maybe, somebody else, maybe like a Kyle Busch or something. And then there will be a late caution. I think Joey Logano will be able to benefit from a late caution. So Logano will take the checker flag. For second place, I'll go ahead and say Kyle Larson. I mean, he's going to be there at the end, folks, so might as well have him at least somewhere up in your top 3. And then for rounding out that top 3 is I do like Denny Hamlin. I think he's going to be riding free. Pressure's off him. He's got his playoff spot secured. Now he can go ahead and just kind of relax, and he's still chasing a regular season championship by all means, but I just think it'll be a little bit of burden off his shoulders. So I do like Denny Hamlin this weekend. So that's how I see this weekend unfolding. All right, cool, man. Down in Michigan this weekend.
Yeah, Logano, though, that surprised me. Logano, he's had a bad year in 2021. He got shithouse luck at Bristol Dirt Race, winning that. I don't know how he did that, but it's been up and down for him, mostly down. And, man, that kind of blows my mind. He picked Logano.
I mean, yeah, he loves his track. 3 wins at it. I tell you, it's going to take a late caution. It's not like he's just going to be, he's not going to blow everybody out of the water and lead 100-some laps. He's going to get some help at the end. I'm feeling it. This time he's going to get the help that goes his way. He won't be thrown up against the wall like he was last week. That was wild, man. Cars just bunny hopping up over that. Like Michael McDowell, when they did their restart, wing! Michael McDowell went flying up in that thing.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys.
It was dangerous.
All right, guys, hang back. I'm going to give you a chance to win $10,000 on the NBC Sports Predictor app and $1,000 over the Fox Bet Super 6 app. Let's go ahead and let William drop. Enjoy that race, man, and we'll see you back here next week. Have a good one.
You too.
All right, there you guys have it. Boy, that was a lot of fun talking about last week's race and looking forward to this week coming up in Michigan. And again, that's how we're doing our picks for $25,000. Now let's move it over to the NBC Sports Predictor app where you can win $10,000. And don't forget, I'm also putting $25 up on the line. If you're not in the league, go ahead, grab the league information from this video description, join that league, and then in that league, within it, whoever gets the most points wins $25. Last week winner, looks like it was DD Cruiser going ahead and with a nice 40 points right there to go ahead and take $25. Make sure you hit me up on Twitter, drop me your PayPal information, and I'll drop you $25, DD Cruiser. And again, everybody, good luck next week. I'm putting another $25 up on the line. As for what the NBC Sports Predictor app, we know they give away $10,000. You got to predict the best driver among stage 1, 2, and 3, and then give them a top 3 finish. So let's go ahead and do it. And I'm always, guys, conflicted. Some weeks when I do this, I'm like, I'm going to keep the same picks as Jackpot Races. So if I win Jackpot Races, I can also win this. I always go back and forth to money. So this week I'm going to make it a little bit different, right? Maybe I can win $25,000. Maybe I'll win $10,000, but I'm going to make them a little bit different here and see if we can't win one of these two jackpots. So what am I going to do in stage one? I'll go ahead and take Tyler Reddick, and I think he's going to be risky just like he was last week. And what I mean in terms of risky is having different pit strategy to stay out there and collect stage points to try and clinch, a playoff berth. So I think that strategy, or I don't think, obviously that strategy worked to a T last week, being the stage winner of both stage 1 and stage 2. Couldn't have gotten any better for him. I think you'll see a similar performance this week. So I'll go ahead and say Tyler Reddick in stage 1. For stage 2, I'll go ahead and give it to Kyle Busch. I think he'll obviously be strong this weekend. And for stage 3, I'll go ahead and give it to Kyle Larson. We've talked about him enough. So stage 3, Kyle Larson. Who's going to win the race and what's going to be my top 3? Well, I'll go ahead and say Denny Hamlin's going to take the checkered flag over here on the NBC Sports Predictor app. Kyle Larson will be right behind him in P2, and then Joey Logano will go ahead and round out P3 right there. All right, let's go ahead and move over to the Fox Bet Super 6 app. This is where you can win $1,000. They ask you 6 questions, answer them all, split that $1,000 prize with a group of people. Question 1 is, which driver is going to have the best finish at the end of stage 1? I'll go ahead and say Kevin Harvick. And this could be a little bit of similar strategy to Tyler Reddick, right? A guy that needs to get points to clinch his playoff spot. You saw what Tyler Reddick did. I mean, he's not the first one to ever do that, but you're going to see guys start to maybe copy that, guys that are right on that fringe of that playoff bubble. Kevin Harvick doesn't have a spot guaranteed yet in those playoffs, so I like Kevin Harvick to have the best finish at the end of stage 1. For question 2, how many Fords will be in the top 10 at the end of stage 1? I'll go ahead and say 2 Fords will do it. Question 3 is, which driver will have the worst position at the end of stage 2? I'll go ahead and say Bell. When we just look at these drivers, he's generally speaking the worst on the oval amongst these heavy hitters that they put him in here in this group. So I'll go ahead and say Bell. How many Joe Gibbs Racing drivers will be in the top 10 at the end of stage 2? More than one? Feels like they give us this question. It's just easy picking every week. I mean, Joe Gibbs Racing has a lot of talented guys between Busch and Hamlin and Truex and Bell. Trying to tell me you can't have more than one in the top 10? Yeah, I think you certainly will right there. Question 5 is, which Hendricks driver will have the least amount of points going at the end of the race? Bowman. Got this question right last week, so go right back to it. Alex Bowman, to me, he's gotten wins this season. He's done really good, but he's either feast or famine, what it seems like, where the other guys are generally more consistent. You know what you're going to get from them. While Bowman may have a good finish, I'll sit there and pick on his feast or famine thing and go ahead and say Bowman right there in the 48 for number 5. And question 6, which driver will have the best position at the end of stage 1? God, look at these drivers. Ugh. I'll go ahead and say Jones. He's generally speaking the only one I trust. When you look up a lot of these other drivers, their best finish at Michigan is in the 30s for multiple of these guys. Jones has, done better. He's just been around longer, quite frankly, but it really just comes down to he's the only one I really, really trust. I don't have a whole hell of a lot of confidence in trusting him, but given the other guys in this group, I'll go ahead and take Eric Jones right there. All right, guys, that's how we're doing it. $25,000 over on the Jackpot Races app, $10,000 over on the NBC Sports Predictor app, and another $1,000 on the Fox Bet Super 6 app. And again, in this video description is the league information. If you want a chance to compete against your fellow Winning Bet supporters, go ahead, grab that information, join the league. Talk some smack on this video amongst it. We had some good trash talk last week. Go ahead and do it again. And again, just good luck on your picks and enjoy this race there at Michigan. And we'll see you guys here back next week. We'll recap this race and look forward to the next one. Have a good one, guys. That was a lot of fun. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and good luck with your picks. If interested in placing real sports bets, then check out my latest daily free sports betting video in the bottom right corner. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next contest.